Whether you're conquering professional exams or personal milestones, we welcome you to Beyond Clean's Confidence Certification, the 52-week test prep podcast series. With expert insights, actionable tips, and engaging discussions, we'll break down the toughest concepts in sterile processing and build your confidence every step of the way. Join host Sarah B. Cruz as she embarks on a mission to help you not just prep for tests, but craft your success story. And now your host, Sarah B. Cruz.
Hello and welcome. You're listening to Confidence Certification, a 52-week test prep podcast series to equip you to take your sterile processing career to the next level. I'm your host, Sarah B. Cruz, and on this episode, we're going to be talking about money. Cash rules everything around me. Am I right? While we operate in capitalism, finances and money consciousness will always be a thing. Even our test prep is not spared this expense, pun intended, okay? And while sterile processing is based on serving the patient and directly affecting patient safety, healthcare is very much a business. I like to call it corporate compassion, but I digress. So this week, I want to discuss how finances directly impact our test preparedness and how we can navigate the almighty dollar sign so that it can add to our own personal dollar signs, if you know what I mean. Keep in mind that I am not a financial guru or a tax person or an accountant. I'm not anybody who does anything with money. I'm just a sterile processing professional that wants to demonstrate how to better financially prepare for a test. So let's get into what finances and test preparedness mean. We all know I'm talking about money, right? That's the first thing that comes to mind and is the major part of finances. But let's not forget that our financial picture is also made up of how we make money, how we spend money, and how we save it. I guess if you had to give it an equation, because what's money talk without some math, right? It looks like money we make minus money we spend plus money we invest/save. That is the equation for your financial picture. Another aspect of finances is the impression we have of finances and how it dictates our relationship with money. You know, when you spend a lot of money, even if we need to, how does that make you feel? Anxious? Happy? You get that like shopping high? Angry? How we interpret our spending is the frame of our financial picture. You know, me personally, I was raised very much witnessing and partaking in a paycheck to paycheck financial mindset. You know, you only had enough money until the next paycheck came in. So even just that mindset or that way that we've had to live will affect your relationship with money. And a portion of your financial picture is also how we make money and how much we make. A lot of the times people only focus on the outs, how much they're spending, and not how much they have coming in. So it's this well-rounded, reciprocal relationship. Okay, so think back to that equations. Finances can be a significant factor why we are trying to join a profession or even considering taking a test in the first place, right? So there is no shame in that game, by the way. If we are pursuing certification because we intend to have a pay raise or a better paying job, the reasons we do what we do not have to be measured against somebody else's reasons, okay, or their why. The reasons we do what we do is made for us because it reflects where we're at and what we need to do and what we want to do. So again, don't fall into comparisonitis with I am doing this to make more money versus somebody else's more philanthropic or inspiring reason, okay? You're not less than, it's just different, all right? So now that we've got that understanding out of the way, let's take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll talk all about what goes into financially being prepared to take a test. It's time for our mid-episode confidence boost, where we focus on a key sterile processing test concept. Now, there's no guarantee these concepts will be on the test that you take, but they are key concepts to the workplace and are discussed in the literature. Today, we'll cover patient care equipment. Patient care equipment, or PCE, is used throughout the healthcare facility to provide essential services to patients. PCEs can be cleaned, disinfected, reassembled, and even if recommended by the manufacturers, tested in SPD. SPD might also have the responsibility to store and or distribute your patient care equipment. Procedures for collecting and distributing vary significantly in facilities. They are returned to decontamination for cleaning and disinfection. They should be contained during transport, so covered in a cart or in a biohazard bag. Be sure to wear PPE and observe standard precautions during collection and processing. Wear gloves when collecting PCEs, and be sure to remove them after handling to avoid contaminating elevator buttons, doorknobs, and everything else in between. That's going to wrap this week's mid-session confidence boost. Good luck! Hey everybody, welcome back. We are discussing money and test prep, okay? Because we can't live in the world that we live in without considering money. It's just the way it is. So let's discuss the elephant in the department. I am well aware that to some, the fee associated with signing up for a test is, quote, not that serious, end quote. But to many, it is the difference between how much they can spend on groceries or how much they can put into a gas tank that week or that month. So I'm just going to take a second to check our privilege that we have with not having to stress about certain numerical amounts, or if you have the ability to borrow that money from a family member or a friend, because those are truly a luxury that can't be figuratively and literally afforded to people. So if you're saying it's not that serious, I really need you to just take a second and consider if you're not understanding or being empathetic to somebody else's reality, because it could be very different from ours. So now that that's out of the way, let's dive into all the costs associated with a test. Because a lot of the times people think I'm just talking about signing up for the test. I know. Obviously, that's what we're including, but there's so much more to that picture. So for example, if you're independently studying, some of your costs might be your book, your practice test sites. You know, they have test sites out there that you could pay for to participate in. Their information tends to be a little bit more relevant and checked. So that's a fee associated with that. Your study book, and then the test itself. Those are maybe 3 or 4 things that are directly cost related just to take your test. Now, if you're in a program, the cost of the program is a fee in itself. And sometimes in the program, the test fee is included, but a lot of the times it's not. So you have the cost of the program and all the fees associated with it, because we know there's always hidden fees, and the test itself. We also have to consider related costs. Okay, so the gas. Are you spending money on gas to get to the test sites? Or are you taking a bus? Do you need bus money or your pass money? You know, do you have to find childcare, whether it's at a daycare or if it's a family member coming in? Do you even have a family member to call in? Again, another luxury that I think a lot of us take for granted or assume other people are afforded. Are you going to lose work hours because of this? And I know people are like, Sarah, you're getting a little crazy with the work hours. No, because if you're someone who chronically does overtime on the weekends to make a little bit of extra money in your paycheck, you may not be able to do that because you're studying or you have to take your test, or that's the only time that you can get someone to come and watch your kids so you can do what you need to do. You know, or maybe you have school during the week and now everything you usually do during the week has been pushed to those weekends. So yes, your income can be affected, right? And then let's take a look at the affected costs. What budget will take a hit? This money has to come from somewhere, right? So unless you have money saved or you borrowed money or somebody is helping you out, somewhere in our spending is going to be affected. Will it be the groceries? You know, will it be going out? Will it be streaming services? We all know that there's at least 5 or 6 different options to watch the same TV all the time, right? What may you have to personally give up, even if it's just temporarily, to make the numbers work out for you? And then take a look at your personal costs. I think that this is an oversight a lot of people make. When you are spending time to do something that doesn't have a direct income right away, your time is essentially free. Right? So how much would you value an hour of your day? If you had to put a dollar sign of an hour of your day, how much would it be? Obviously more than what you're making right now if you're financially driven to pass this test. Am I right? But seriously, think about how much an hour of your time away from family, not making money, spending time studying, how much would that cost if somebody were to pay you for it? And that is included in your affected costs. So I'm going to share with you all the money I had to borrow from my Nana and what I used it on in order to get certified. Again, I had the ability to borrow money from someone. Granted, my Nana wasn't necessarily someone you wanted to borrow money from. She was a big supporter of mine, but she made it very clear that I was going to pay her back. Okay, so I digress. But I had that luxury to borrow money from someone. So that's something a lot of people don't have. But I want to share with you what I had to borrow money for, because I want to be vulnerable with you, my listeners, the people who are spending time including me in your test prep journey, my colleagues, because the struggle is real, especially during that time in my life when I was in my early 20s. I was broke. By all purposes and definitions, I was so broke, and I was working a low-paying trade job, and I didn't have a child at the time, but my partner and I were just starting out and trying to live together. It was also my first apartment in which I and my partner were expected to carry the entire financial load associated with. I had never lived on my own outside of a college dorm room or a roommate situation, roommates being my parents, right? So the struggle was real at this time. So I had to borrow money for the test book, because first I wanted to do it by myself. And then I quickly realized that I needed to go into a program because I needed more structure. So I'd already spent money on the test book and the study guide that comes with it. I had to pay for the Sterile Processing program. I also had to borrow money for gas in the car to get to the program. That was 35 minutes one way. Granted, it was all highway, so I was grateful for that. But still, it's an hour and 15 minutes plus or minus traffic additional to my commute, and I was already broke, not having gas money, right? And gas was cheaper than what it is now, so I can only imagine. I tried to carpool because a friend of mine at the time was also in the same program, and I tried to catch rides with people who lived nearby that I had made acquaintances with in the class, but honestly, at most of the time I was putting gas in my own car and driving there. Well, Nana's gas in my car and driving there. And I also borrowed money for the first and the second test that I failed. I didn't have the courage to ask her for any testing money after failing twice because I wasn't ready for the Nana Riot Act. But, these are all the expenses that I borrowed money for. I couldn't imagine where I would be if I didn't have somebody that I guess believed in me that much or had that much money to give me. It's not like Nana was rolling in it either. She was on a fixed income. We all grew up in the same financial environment, the same paycheck to paycheck, mindset and life. So, and I also lost hobbies and, not to sound like poor me, but, there were things that I enjoyed doing that I couldn't do because I had to study. Okay. And clearly me failing was demonstrating that how I was studying was not going to work. Okay. The other reason why I shared this information with you is to demonstrate what I want to give you all for homework. Okay. I want you all to be honest with yourself and determine what you'll need to spend to take this test. All right. Then I need you to begin to look up how much that will cost, and if there are any programs available to you that will help lessen that burden. Okay, a number of sterile processing programs are state assistance supported. So if you have that opportunity, there is no shame in that game. Do what you got to do because the program is significantly more affordable. All right. And make sure it's a good program. Please do your research. We have previous episodes about what a quality sterile processing program looks like. A couple of special guests even talked about it. But I want you to really look into how much you intend to spend to take this test. Okay. And if you've already spent money on it, list what it was and how much you've put in there to get your current spending snapshot. Yeah? Because next week, we're having a special guest or two come on to discuss spending, saving, and testing as a future sterile processing professional and somebody already in the field. Thanks for joining me on this financial journey towards test prep, and we'll see you guys next week. And that's going to do it for this week's episode. For more sterile processing education and resources, make sure to visit beyondclean.net or follow Beyond Clean on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram. And don't forget to check out over 1,000 SPD-related videos at youtube.com/beyondclean. If you have any questions or comments for the show, you can reach out to info@beyondclean.net. Finally, make sure to download the Beyond Clean mobile app on the Apple and Android app stores so that you don't miss a future episode of any of the other awesome Beyond Clean podcasts. My name's Sarah B. Cruz, and you've been listening to Confidence Certification. Until next time, keep fighting dirty and pass that test with confidence.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast series are of Sarah B. Cruz only and do not represent the companies she works for or collaborates with.